It is so nice. And the weather is warmer than Michigan, which is a nice relief. I am not originally from Michigan. I'm originally from Virginia, a little bit north of here. How many of you have heard of Natural Bridge?
Yes.
Yeah. And you've heard of Lexington, Virginia? Well, I was born in Stonewall Jackson's home, in his living room, because at that time there was no hospital in Lexington. They were building one, and they named it Stonewall Jackson Memorial. But until then, the maternity ward was in the living room of his home. And so now I can go and be where I was when I took my first breath. So, anyway, I grew up in Natural Bridge. I was the second oldest of 8 children, so we had lots of cooking to do. And we learned to cook good Southern food. We were not Seventh-day Adventists. We didn't go to church. I became acquainted with the Lord much later. But my parents taught us to do what was right in their eyes, and there was a penalty to pay if you didn't. So we learned those things. I wanted to say that being the second oldest of 8 children, you get a little bit of parenting experience because there's so many more to take care of, and it has serves us all well to have that experience, because I ended up not having children of my own. I have stepchildren, and I think besides marriage, parenting is the thing that teaches you the most in this life. And so there's a lot to learn. I wanted to share with you, because I am the lead cook for our Start a New programs, and I'm going to pass these around later, because if I pass them around now, you won't listen to what I want to say. But I brought a sample cookbook of what we use when we do our programs. And the immersion that we do at Village Church has more recipes than our startanew.me. Startanew.me we did in Grand Rapids, and it was the 16-night program and all weekend long. That was where people are going to work and they can't take off work, so we accommodate that by sending breakfast home with them, and if they can come by and eat a hot lunch, otherwise we pack their lunch too and send it home with them. And then in the evening is when we have the class and do any treatments that are done. That's the 16-day. That's startanew.me. The immersions that we do at Village are the 10-day, and you're there all day for 10 days straight. And that's really, really easier on us because you're there and we feed you breakfast hot. We don't have to pack it and send it with you. We feed you lunch hot and you don't have to take it home. And you're thinking I'm going to say we feed you supper hot, but we only feed you supper the first 3 days, because we found that the 2-meal-a-day program, which is recommended by Sister White and the Lord, is so much better. And you know, people come and they think, oh no, I'm going to be starving. But then they come back to us and they say, I am amazed, I'm not hungry at night. And it's because of what we're feeding them. It's more natural and high fiber, more satiety, and the satiation lasts longer. And so anyway. So with our programs, whether it's this one or the immersion, we do start out with the first 3 days, breakfast, lunch, and a light supper. Light supper to us is like some fruit and maybe some popcorn. If we have a health guest who does not want to lose any weight or perhaps needs to gain weight, the doctor will write an order for that health guest, and the kitchen will provide whatever they need. But typically we go to 2 meals a day on the 4th day. And it's been so exciting to have the people come back and tell us they love it. Well, the cooks love it, obviously, because we don't have to cook. But when the patients come and say, well, I really like this, I'm so excited to see that. That's God working, because in the world we live in, you know, food is such a thing. I mean, we are so into our food. So I wanted to share with you that my degree is in political science, so I will feed you politically correct. But as far as beyond that, I did work for Defense Intelligence Agency for a couple of years, fresh out of college. I went to Radford College in Radford, Virginia, now Radford University, and I did a state teacher's scholarship, because with 8 children in the family, my dad couldn't send us to school. But, and then I decided later, I started out a math major, and you do need to know some math to do recipes. But when I got to calculus, that was it. I couldn't do that. So I switched to political science because I thought I'd be a lawyer, because I like to argue. But and so I finished in political science because I could get all my requirements in. And then I went to work for Defense Intelligence, and I was living in Washington, D.C. area. And during that time, the Lord found me, and it was wonderful. And I was attending Sligo Church, and I was baptized at Sligo in 1971, like 54 years ago. And it's been a wonderful journey ever since. And I was still working for the government. Then I moved to Denver and was active in a church in North Glen. And then I went to Weimar and was involved in my first time in medical missionary work. Actually, I had been working in Denver at Porter Hospital and loved it, but I liked medical missionary better, because Porter Hospital was so much in drugs and stuff. Well, anyway, John and I courted at Weimar and married, and then we moved to Virginia, and that's been our home base ever since, but we're not there very often, so we still have our home there. We hope to go by there in a few weeks, but we'll see. When we do a program, we have lots of help. You know, we are still adding recipes to our collection as we go. It's amazing, like today, is Wanda here? No. Somebody told me that she made that spaghetti and it tasted really good. I'm not sure it was vegan. It tasted so good, but I bet it was. And I'm sure that every one of you in here is an excellent cook. And, you know, when I started, I was not raised eating plant foods. Well, we ate plant foods. We grew them and ate them, but we had our share of animal products. And when I decided to not eat animal products anymore, it was wonderful. I didn't miss it at all. And I remembered when I was a little girl and we raised little pigs. They were the cutest things. And then one day my dad took them to the slaughterhouse and came back with 10 cans of sausage. And we did not want to eat that. Our pets. So it was a blessing to me. I said, when I became a plant eater only, I said, if I had known there was such a thing as a vegetarian, I would have become one long before now. And I am so happy that I did become one. It is so fun. And I am amazed how good we can eat, even better than when I was eating other things. And so I can't think of anything that I would rather do than eat plant foods. So what we find with our program is people come in with all kinds of conditions. Now, if you have an acute condition, we may not be able to deal with it with diet and exercise and things. It might require something more. But for a chronic condition, what do you think of? What do you think of chronic? That's all of them. Exactly. They respond so beautifully. And it's not just the diet, but the diet is important. And so many people have such a poor dietary that when we start giving them plant foods that are really tasty and high fiber and full of nutrients, the body just goes, wow, this is great. And it just starts repairing itself. And it's so wonderful. Now, our counsel is fruits, nuts, grains, and vegetables prepared in as simple and natural a manner as possible. This is the diet constituted for us by our Maker. And it's so lovely that, and look at the variety we can have when we do. I've been amazed because growing up the way I did, where we were eating everything else, I was just astounded, all the things I had never heard of nor seen, and I'm still learning. I'm still growing. We had persimmons on our tree that only got this big, and you had to wait until the frost nipped them, or they would, set your mouth on edge. But now I can buy persimmons, beautiful persimmons, and eat the whole thing, and I don't have to wait for it to freeze. And I just thought I'd died and gone to heaven. And so what are we going to be eating in heaven? Do you think that we'll need our Instant Pot? I doubt it. And so let's start preparing. Let's start learning how to eat more that way. But we must meet the people where they are. And so when we start a program, we don't just give them raw food every day. We do give them some raw food every day, but we give them some cooked food. And we still eat cooked food too. But we choose to cook more of the whole grains and things. So when they come for breakfast, we're going to give them some hot cereal. It's nice to have hot food. And the cereals that we use will be whole grains. And we will deal with people who have to be gluten-free or have allergies. We'll just deal with that. And I'm learning and learning and learning more how to do that. And it's so much fun. And it isn't hard. I just decided myself to go gluten-free recently. Not because I wondered if I had a reason. But anyway, I learned how to make some gluten-free breads that are fantastic. And if you buy them, they're expensive and they're not always so tasty. But I love the ones that I can make. So I'm learning as I am adapting to help other people. So a lot of times that's our situation. God gives us opportunity to help others, and it ends up being a blessing for us too. When we take folks and give them hot cereal, and we offer them a nut milk if they need it, but what we found was, in our home even, if we put a bowl of fruit on the table, an apple, an orange, some bananas, different things, by the time the family runs out the door to school or to work, that bowl of fruit is still there. They didn't have time. They weren't going to eat the apple. They weren't going to cut the orange. And so they didn't have as good a meal as they could have had. So we have learned that if we will take the time to cut up the fruit and provide it for them, so we put a nice fruit salad, small amount, in the bottom of their cereal bowl. Then we ladle the hot cooked grains on top and serve that. And if they need some milk to moisten it, then they can have that, nut milk. And so they get a hearty meal, and it stays with them. It takes longer to digest a whole grain that has been cooked than it is if we give them a refined grain. And so the fiber is excellent, the flavor is good, and the nutrition is high. It's just wonderful. And so that will last them, along with, we give them a whole grain toast and nut butter, almond butter or peanut butter, and more fruits besides. We'll give them banana. Dr. Kelly thinks he hasn't had breakfast if he hadn't had a banana. And so, so it's amazing to see the health improvements that people get. And it's not just the diet. We're doing all the remedies. We're trying to get them some sunshine. That's hard in the winter. But the exercise, the fresh air, and the water inside and out. And so it works out very nicely. So those of us who are working in the kitchen, it takes a team, a big team. And it doesn't need to be somebody, I'm not a dietitian, and it doesn't need to be somebody with a degree. But if you have those, it's wonderful because they can answer questions. If people will always ask you questions that you go, I don't know, but I'll try to find out. So, but you need a large team because you can't work everybody from morning to night every day. You've got to have a schedule, and so have somebody that's good at scheduling and come in for 2 or 3 hours and then go, and somebody else comes and goes. So it works out nicely, but it's so much fun, and you learn so many new things. Have you seen those carrot peelers? You know those, they work so nicely. I didn't grow up with those things. And so the other day, I've had a carrot peeler for quite a while, and my niece was wanting me to peel an apple because for what she was going to do, and I didn't realize she wanted it peeled before you cut it. So I had already quartered it. And she walked over and she says, oh no. And so she took the carrot peeler and she used it like a knife, this way. I've always used it this way. And she used it this way. And I thought, I'm 77 years old and I didn't know how to use a carrot peeler to peel an apple. This is amazing. So we're learning new things all the time, and it's just so much fun. All right, so I told you that the people are going to have 2 meals a day. They have a nice hearty breakfast like a king. They're going to have lunch like either a queen or a prince, and supper like a pauper. And do you realize that when they have supper like a pauper, what do you think breakfast is the next day? Very welcome, right? They are hungry. And so it's going to be breakfast like a king. We only have one little thing that we like to do that you may not be familiar with, and that is we like to serve them a half a cup of cooked beans at breakfast. Is that something that you are familiar with? Yes. I didn't grow up eating beans at breakfast, but we have enjoyed it, and a half a cup is not very much. In fact, most of our health guests have said, can we have more beans? But at first, when we first tell them that's what we're going to do, they're saying, I can't do beans because they give me flatulence or gas. And I say, well, the way we do them might not do that. So try ours and let us know. And we like to introduce them to new beans. How many of you know Mayakoba or canary bean? I can get it now at a lot of the grocery stores. Even Walmart is carrying them. They're kind of a yellow bean. And peruano is another name. And they're my new favorite. And what we do is we take it, we soak it overnight. Is that how you do your beans normally? You soak them, and then do you cook them? We soak them, drain them, and put them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them raw, but hydrated. At least 24 hours, or you can leave them 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months in your freezer. Then take them out and treat them like you had just hydrated them. Put them in your Instant Pot or put them in your pan on the stove, whatever. Cook them the way you normally would. And that freezing denatures some of the enzyme that contributes to the flatulence or the gas. So you will find that if they were problematic for you before, they may not be now. Just that one little trick. So we're learning lots of new stuff. Eating the beans at breakfast is very good to help a diabetic not to have that blood spike or blood sugar spike. And it's also good for us who get the mid-morning slump and feel like we have to go eat something because our breakfast is already digested and we're hungry. The beans will help carry you over. So try just half a cup. Now, we cook ours in the Instant Pot because we are doing so many and so many days in a row. So we have them hydrated and in the freezer way ahead of time. And when we put them in the Instant Pot, when the pressure drops after they're cooked, and it'll only take 8 minutes under pressure for this bean. Garbanzo might take more. Garbanzos are harder. But when we take that lid off, we put in like a half a teaspoon or a teaspoon of salt, equal amount of onion granules, equal amount of garlic granules. Turn the pot on saute and let it go for 30 minutes or less. You just want to get that salt flavor into your beans and the onion and garlic. And what happens when you do that, don't put the lid back on. Leave the lid off, and it thickens into a nice creamy gravy on the bean. And so it's delicious. I can see why people say, can we have more? And so we serve all kinds. We serve garbanzos, pinto, navy, great northern, black, kidney beans, lentils, bolitas, cranberry beans, and mayacobas. So, and we're teaching them at the same time how to do things when they get home and to do them so that they're not in the kitchen forever. You know, when you soak beans, do several different kinds and get them in your freezer, and then you just have them when you need them. We offer the fresh fruit at breakfast and the milk if necessary. And so when we think of whole grains, we think, all right, I'm going to give you a test. Who knows what an oat is called? An oat groat. Is that not the cutest? Oat groat. What's a wheat called? A wheat berry. All right, so tell me, I'm going to give you 4 things. Which one do you think I feed to the health guest? A quick rolled oat, an old-fashioned rolled oat, a steel-cut oat, or an oat groat? You're exactly right, and you know why, because it's less processed. And so, how about your berries, wheat? How about a cream of wheat cereal? A grape nuts cereal, a cracked wheat cereal, or a wheat berry? Good job, good job. So the less refined, the better. And we're trying to do that with all of our food. The less refined, the better. And the less cooked, the better. But we do plenty of cooking. All right. So for lunch, which is usually 5 to 6 hours later than breakfast, to allow time for the digestion. We usually have a nicely prepared tossed salad, and it can be very nice size too. And we like to use romaine lettuce and not iceberg because it has more nutrients, and we'll probably mix it with a spring mix. And then we'll have some very finely shredded green cabbage, red cabbage, carrot, maybe some celery, tomatoes, colored peppers, ripe olives. Do you think you would like that? And then we have homemade dressings. Lemon Italian and sesame tahini are our favorites, but we have others besides. And so oftentimes our lunch menu is built around a legume. So we could have black bean vegetable chili, we could have chickpea a la king, and things like that. We could have tofu spinach lasagna. So now if I'm telling you that we build it around around a bean or a legume, is a green bean a legume? It's a vegetable, until it dries. If you leave your green bean on the vine and dry it, then you'll have a dried bean. So your legumes are your usually dried beans. All right, so tell me, where's the legume in this meal? Tofu, spinach, lasagna, green beans, tossed salad, and dressing. Good job. Good job. What bean is that? You guys are good. All right, what if I serve you haystacks? Where's your legume? In the beans? Exactly. All right. Well, it's fun, and there's a lot I could tell you, but I'm not going to take the time to do it today. I am going to pass around just for you to look at the menu that we have been using, and we change it almost every time. And I have 3 copies, so I can have one go on in each one of those. And you can just take a look to see what kind of things we offer. And then I have a handout for you. Did you enjoy the cookie today? And what about, did you try the zucchini burger? Yeah. Oh, it was good. I tried it. I don't know who made them, but they did a good job. Who did it? Oh, okay. So I'm going to give you a handout today, and John, I think they're in the paper bag over there. And so just take one. It's 2-sided, and on one side is the savory breakfast bean that will tell you how we cook our beans, and then a strawberry jam, and then a scrambled tofu. On the back is a sunflower oat waffle, a black bean and vegetable chili, and the bottom recipe is the nut sandy. Today, the sandy you had was an almond sandy. So you have that recipe now. Now, there's one more thing I can tell you really quickly that is a trick of the trade that we learned. How many of you make your own burgers? And I know you all have figured out how to do it, right? So that you don't get your hands soiled. You are familiar with these gloves. These are wonderful. But we like to make our burgers you will have an opportunity to look at our cookbook too. And there's a recipe in here for the zucchini burger. You can do a large batch where you freeze a bunch of them, or a small batch. But regardless of which size you make, which batch size, when you go to form your burger after you have already put the mix together and now you're ready to form your burger, if you've seen anything like this in the store, this is called an egg form, so that you can make a perfectly shaped fried egg. Well, when I quit eating eggs, I didn't need this. I repurposed it. It makes a wonderful form for making a burger. And so I have my mix in a big bowl here for making burgers, and I scoop up, and if you have a ice cream scoop, when I quit eating ice cream, I repurposed my ice cream scoop, and I scoop up an amount of burger mix, and I put it on parchment paper on a cookie sheet. And I put it right in there. And then I just take my gloved hand and I press it flat. I pick this up, move it to the next one, put some more batter, press it flat. The next one, press it flat. You can make burgers so fast and cook them and freeze them. And then you have them when you need them without a lot of work. So there's all kinds of fun things that we learn and get to do. And we're still learning and doing. So be encouraged. If you guys have a program, we would just love to come and play with you in the kitchen. And teach you everything that we've learned and then learn some more. So, thank you, thank you.
Don't go away.
I know I'm supposed to do Q&A, but I probably don't have to.
Well, I just want to tell you something that she didn't bother to tell you. So, let me just ask you a couple questions. How many restaurants or cafes have you started and run?
Only one or two,
One or two. How many vegan?
all of them.
And so, you don't like to be called a chef,
No.
but
Cook.
what would you call somebody that's constantly inventing new recipes, making them more healthy, etc.?
Sally.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's not a chef or a dietitian, but she knows how to make food that the general public would love to come and eat. I remember we were working together in one of them that we did, and people came, flooded us at lunchtime to have her vegan food, which I don't think they knew was vegan.
That's probably true. But anyway, it is a lot of fun, and we can make it tasty, you know? It's not too hard. And we can learn from each other, and we are constantly learning. Okay, I'm going to pass one cookbook this way and one this way, and